Welcome to the Huskie Pack Podcast. I'm one of your hosts today, Dr. Don Killingbeck, and I'm joined by no other than our business official, Anna Walmack. Anna, what's your official title?
I am the Director of Business Operations and Human Resources here at Hemlock Public School District.
And today we're talking to you about what every taxpayer should know. And we've put together a beginner guide for this journey. And we're just going to walk you through what you should know about taxes and school finance.
So one of the things that we really aim to do today in talking about this is kind of going through some common misconceptions. One of the ones that we've heard about going out for millage renewals is that we should be managing our money better. Have you heard that one, Don?
No, I've never heard that.
Never.
Yes, I have heard that because, I think people see us, we're doing great things here at Hemlock Public School District. They see things going up in the air and then they wonder, like, hey, you know what? They're building. Why can't they manage their budget? Why are they asking me for a millage? And so I think that's a fair assumption. But I do hear it, and it's kind of a misnomer how things work. And so this is what we're hoping to shed some light on today, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the big things, school finance is a little bit different than a lot of other businesses that you see, that we operate on something called fund accounting, which essentially means that we have different buckets of money that can be used for different things. So right now we have three primary buckets. We've got our general fund, we have our sinking fund, and we have a capital projects bond fund. In looking at that, our general fund is what we kind of call the pay the people and keep the lights fund.
That would seem to be an important fund. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Like this, without your general fund, you're not doing anything.
This is how
district.
we pay teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is how we pay teachers, how we pay consumers energy,
Correct.
how we pay for our gas, for our buses.
How we buy textbooks, pretty much anything that you think of running a school, it's coming out of the general fund for the most part.
Okay. I mean, is that how we fund our athletic teams?
Well, it's kind of a combination thereof for our athletic teams. So athletics does come out of general fund, but a lot of our athletic teams also do their own fundraising for different expenses within those teams.
Yeah, so our athletic budget is actually pretty minimal. I think that sometimes people would be like, cut athletics. And you're like, okay, that's 2 teachers' salary.
Yeah.
Like out of a, 70, instructional staff.
In the grand scheme of our budget, athletics is a drop in the bucket.
It's like, hey, let's reduce half of our busing is about what our athletics is, and so it's really not a significant portion. That's kind of why I bring it up, because it's something people get confused by.
Sure. Our sinking fund is more of our repair fund. This is something that we went out to the community a few years back, and they voted for us to have it for a 10-year time period. Sinking funds are governed by the state of what we can and can't do. It can never exceed 3 mills legally. Our voters within our district voted us at a rate of 1 mil, which provides for us a little over $450,000 a year. And with this money, we're able to do things like repair our roofs, we're able to improve school security, we're able to upgrade our technology with this fund.
So far, we really have done those kind of 3 things there. Is we've worked on making sure our technology is updated for our students and staff in our classrooms. We've improved our security, but it can't be for people.
Correct.
So we don't pay for a school resource officer out of sinking funds. And so, but we've enhanced our security, whether it be like window filming and stuff like that. But we've also had various grants that we've went out and sought after for security measures. But some of the security updates do come from sinking fund. Leaky roofs. This is always, like kind of an interesting one, because you'll get somebody out there that'll say they've got a leaky roof. Well, imagine a 250,000 square feet under roof. And after this bond project will be about probably 300,000 square feet. By the way, with 300,000 square feet under roof, you're going to have a roof leak. That said, what we do is we repair and replace sections of roof that are the most needy. And sometimes what we find is the most needy doesn't always mean the oldest. So if we're having issues with roofs, we identify up to, like, this next year, we're replacing 5 sections in, I think, 3 or 4 buildings. And so we go to each building, we assess what does the roof look like. Not is it dirty up there. I mean, we run drone footage and you can kind of see sometimes there's debris that we're cleaning off and stuff like that, but there might be some grit that's up there. But we're looking for, does this roof need to be replaced? And so we replace those roofs as needed, saving taxpayers dollars. And so we're extending our roofs to their life expectancy and beyond, and then replacing them when they need to be replaced. Recently, we had a community member say, hey, we got a roof leak, and we looked into it. And really what it was an HVAC unit that sits up on top of the roof. From time to time, these units get snow underneath them or in them. It's natural when you have a flat roof and you have a large unit that snow can sometimes get trapped underneath. And sometimes those units create heat, melt off, and then the moisture can go into the vent and come into the building. And so that's what happened this past winter in at least one incident. But we want to make sure we address those in real time.
We also have our capital projects bond, and that's responsible for almost all of the construction you see happening around our district right now. This was approved by our community back in May 2022. It brought in about $41.9 million. But again, this is another fund we cannot use for the salaries and benefits of our employees.
So it's strictly for the bond projects.
Correct.
And so you see the new gym going in Casey Ling, it's funded through that. You see the new drive-in and the new softball field, the enhancements out that way. They're funded through the bond. You come in and you see our new gymnasium getting built, our new theater. Those are bond projects. We can see over here at the Hemlock Elementary, right by our office, the playground and the changes there on the outside with a parking lot and stuff. Those are bond projects. But in addition, I want to make sure we clarify this. We have other projects that we've went out and fundraised and sought after additional dollars, like the Lockwood STEM Center project. We've sought additional dollars. We've got a project, the Patrick Woolgas Field House, that we've fundraised and sought additional dollars and are getting ready to break ground. Those are not bond projects.
Correct. Those are not bond projects, but those are also not things that we're using general fund dollars and doing.
Yeah, and it's because we actually did extra work.
Yes.
We went out and sought extra work on and wrote grants and fundraised and did additional things to benefit the students and the families and the community here. So where does the 18 mills go?
So that 18 mills that you're looking at from the non-homestead operating millage goes directly into the general fund. If you remember, that was our pay the people, keep the lights on fund.
So kind of an important thing.
Just a little bit.
So the 18 mills goes into the general fund. I'm assuming this is like extra money?
No, I wish. I would love for it to be extra money. No. So how Michigan schools are funded, it comes from a per pupil amount. However, the state looks at that and says, well, your community through property taxes should be giving you X amount of dollars. So they deduct that from the per pupil amount that you're getting. So overall, you should be getting that per pupil amount, but that's not all coming from the state. There's a large chunk that is expected to be coming from this 18 mills from your community.
Wait a second here. So as our community does better in businesses or more rental homes, like second homes, we actually get less money from the state.
That's correct.
Yeah. So they are deducting these dollars.
Correct.
Wow. That is kind of mind-boggling to think that as business does better, which we at Hemlock Public School District are proponents for our businesses to succeed and do well because we need them. And our families need them. We want them to be successful. We've been a member of the Hemlock Business Association for years and years and years, huge supporters. But as they do well, it actually means the state is sending us less money.
That's correct.
So when I pay my property taxes here in Hemlock, it's 6 mills, and it goes where?
So that 6 mills goes to the state, and the state then takes that money and uses that to pay out that portion that we are getting from the state.
Okay. So do we get any more money? Like when you think about the per pupil foundation allowance, there's obviously school districts that get more money. Then there's some that get a little bit more money. And then there's some that get the least amount of money. Where do we fall in like those 3 categories?
We receive the base amount.
So we receive the minimal foundation allowance, and then the 18 mills, whatever dollars that is, that's deducted.
And that's correct.
Okay. I got to ask this because people see how our district's managed with our resources and finance and see all the good things going on. Do we get a ton of other dollars, like federal dollars, like ESSER or title dollars or at risk from the state? Where do you think we fall on that list?
Honestly, we're on the lower end for that. We do receive funds, but especially in comparison to some of our neighboring districts, looking at a per pupil basis, we are not getting the funding that we're seeing around us.
So with ESSER, federal dollars, at risk, Title I, we receive probably less than all of our neighbors right around us. It's also important to point out, and not to call any of them out when it comes to our bond or capital projects, our bond vote in 2022. We're at 3.9 for our bond, 1 for our sinking fund. We've seen the recent trend across our county. We can see where we are in relationship to everybody. We're significantly less when it comes to property taxes than our east and west neighbor. Our southern neighbor, we're about tied, but east and west are significantly, and I understand to the north, I think it's significantly higher. So from a school standpoint, Hemlock's a value in this pocket of Saginaw County and maybe Midland.
Yes.
Oh man, I always love when people say you need to be more transparent. So we actually have every single thing that somebody could want on our website. And there's a transparency tab, and we're reporting our budget, our salary, our compensation on the website. It's up there available. People could link up to it. We keep that relatively up to date, like our budget. We just had a budget amendment, and within a week or 2, it's up on the website and ready for people to see, so they can see all this stuff on their own. Now, I will say it's kind of like reading a French recipe. It's a little bit, like I might be able to cook French food. I can't, folks. But I would want that recipe in something that I can read and understand. And so people are going to have questions. We've had people who think they're geniuses go out, take a bit of information, and then release a bunch of misinformation. And so if you get there, look at it. If you have questions or you think you want to make comments, we ask that you just double check. Like, hey, what does this really mean? How does that really work? What is this line item, that you have there posted on your website? What are you trying to say? But really, we're an open book. And if you have questions, we will be glad to answer. So these are some things that are on there. We have the original budget for the fiscal year, any amendments. We have current personnel, current operating, current bargaining agreements, audited financial statements. And, people say like, hey, manage your money better. We have been audited year after year after year. So it's a requirement. We have a third party that comes in and audited. The term for the highest audit standard that you can reach is what?
Unmodified opinion.
So unmodified opinion is the A. And where do we rank?
We have had an unmodified opinion
For years.
for years.
Yeah. So our auditors, a third party, they don't work for us. They actually are hired by the Board of Education. They come in, look at all the books and review everything. Rate Hemlock Public School District's financial handlings as an A+. I mean, it's the top ranking you can get is unmodified.
So looking back to our non-homestead operating millage, this is something that all school districts have to levy. I mean, as we talked about earlier, if you don't, you're not getting that makeup and funding from the state. They assume your community is going to kind of do their part in helping you out. And if they choose not to, the state kind of leaves you hanging on that.
Right.
Looking ahead for us, we're looking at about $2.6 million that this levy brings in for us.
So this is significant money. When you think about 2.6, we've talked about this before, but that is more than 20 years of our tech budget.
Correct.
For our student technology devices. It is 5 to 6, 7 years of transportation. It's a decade plus of athletics. But that hit is in 1 year. So, and it's year after year after year. And so we can't really operate without this non-homestead operating millage, can we?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, if something were to happen of that nature, it's like your home budget at that point. If you were to lose a significant source of income, you would have to make serious cuts to get by.
Right. And we're talking cuts that, we run in a very efficient ship. Our classroom sizes are low. But let's say like our elementaries are at 22. We're talking about to be able to get to this number, you would take class sizes from 22 to 38. And I'm just throwing out a number there, folks. You're going to take, services like counseling and building principals and cleaning services and all those, every single, including my office, all the way down to food service and everything in between would be negatively impacted.
Correct.
Because not even one department could take this.
No, not at all.
So huge negative consequence. So we've got proposal language out there. This next election, August 6th, we've got a ballot initiative. It's going to say, 18.0614 mils. But at the top, it says not to exceed 18 mils. So this last election, we did ask for a quarter more because of inflationary guard. We get deducted the 18 mils. So if we don't collect the 18 mils, we lose revenue at the lowest funding amount in the state of Michigan. So by asking for a little bit more, what we're trying to do is safeguard that, because at the same time, we can only levy 18 mils, but that can be reduced through some tax laws through Headley, where Headley only allows property taxes to go up at 5% or the rate of inflation, whichever is greater, which right now it's been running 5%. So when you have the non-homestead operational millage, it's fighting against that to maintain that 18 mils to ensure our school district isn't losing dollars. Does that make sense, Anna?
I mean, to me, it sure does.
It's complex.
It is complex. That is part of the problem. I think the biggest thing to take away here is no matter what gets voted in, you can never tax more than 18 mils. I mean, if our community was like, hey, we really want to make sure that no matter what happens with our property taxes, we want to be protected. So we're going to vote to have an increase of up to 27 mils from them. You could do that. You could do 2,700 mils. We still can never get more than 18 mils.
Got it. That is important for everybody to know. So it's a straight renewal. Even if it said increase, you can't get over 18 mils.
Correct.
Okay, good. So Anna, everybody wants to know, I mentioned a little bit earlier about the Headley. What the heck is Headley?
Sure. So Headley is short for a Headley Amendment. And that was an amendment voted into the Michigan Constitution by Michigan voters in 1978. And what that amendment did was that it limited the amount of revenue collected from property taxes to the amount the millage originally was supposed to generate, but given that factor for inflation that you mentioned. So the property tax revenue limitation requires that if the assessed value of a local tax unit's total property increases by more than the inflation rate, the maximum property tax millage must be reduced. So, kind of trying to sum up what that's saying is if property values increase by more than the rate of inflation, the millage on that property is going to decrease.
Right. And since we actually are reduced 18 mils, that's why this is important, because the school's going to lose dollars to educate kids if we don't levy 18 mils. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's why in the past, we were going for more than 18 mils, even though we're capped at that, just to guard against this Headley. And by the way, as a taxpayer, I love Headley. I know that like, hey, my taxes can't go up more than 5% or the rate of inflation. It keeps taxes reasonable. And we all know reasonable is a relative word. Nobody likes property taxes. Nobody likes taxes, but at least it keeps them at bay. You know, they can't go crazy. And that's why Headley went into effect in the first place. Tax rates, it was the late 70s. You had high inflation. People weren't building. Interest rates were high. Oh my gosh, it almost seems like 2024 in 1978, but without the Headley. So fighting the good fight, you know, so I kind of explained this already, but you know, you got the millage after Headley, the rollback, the Headley override. We've got to get to 18 mils. That's the end of the story. Is we got to get to 18 mils. We don't want to raise taxes. We're not raising taxes. We're capped at the 18, but we have to get there to get the minimal funding in the state of Michigan for our students. You know, it's kind of one of those things where I want to say to people, hate the game, don't hate the player. So this isn't us. We love business. By the way, this is also a better system for businesses that went into play in the mid 90s with Proposal A. It was better than the tax structure then. So everybody was super excited to see this go in. But you know, it's definitely, we've talked a lot about some Headley and Proposal A enhancements and working through some things to clean things up. And maybe it's time, but that's not our fault.
So if you're hearing all of this and you're still a little bit confused, or maybe it brought up a question for you, you're definitely more than welcome to reach out to us, and we'll be more than glad to get back to you to help answer those questions, because we want nothing more than to have informed voters out there.
You know, Anna, I think that it's important at this time to at least, you know, acknowledge. So you've been a business manager for a number of years, over half a dozen. You've worked with me for about a half a dozen years. And this year, you're the Michigan School Business Official of the Year. I have a doctorate in educational leadership. The focus was on resource allocation. As a district, we have obtained a level of financial stability that is looked at around the state and the nation as very healthy, very well managed. And then you also look at like independent ratings like Moody's. Moody's has come in and rated our school district the highest. They said literally we're at the highest rating that they provide any Michigan school. So our school district is rated the highest by an independent credit rater. We're audited by a third party, given what kind of rating? It's the highest.
Yeah, the highest.
The highest.
The unmodified opinion.
Unmodified opinion. You're actually a business official of the year for the state.
Correct.
My expertise is resource allocation. So I will say, folks, I said all that to say, you kind of hurt my feelings when you say stuff like, we don't know what we're doing over here with finance. 11 years ago when I started, we really didn't have our financial house in order. And today, any independent organization in the state of Michigan, our auditors, national level Moody's rating, or any other school business official or superintendent, they actually call Anna or myself to find out information about how to better manage their school's finance. So quit hurting my feelings.
I don't like mine being hurt either.
Right. I'm just teasing. We got big shoulders over here. You can hurt my feelings as much as you want. And that's a wrap for the Huskie Pack Podcast. What every taxpayer should know.